James Bezan is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Defence. Peter Stauffer is a Veterans Affairs critic for the NDP. And Joyce Murray is the Defence critic for the Liberal Party. All three of you, I want to thank you for taking the time. Unfortunately, we're speaking on what's not a happy occasion, this cluster of 4 apparent suicides. James Bezan, can we start with the question, how concerned is the government about what you're seeing over the last 10 days?
First of all, Martin, I want to express our condolences to the families and the friends and the colleagues for these individuals who have committed suicide. We are all responsible to and have a duty to reach out to everyone that is dealing with depression and other operational stress injuries, and we want to make sure that they get the help that they need. So as a government, we have been increasing funding by over $100 million to all health care, and out of the increase, over $11 million has gone to increasing the mental health budget, which is now over $15 million. We've almost doubled the number of mental health workers, and making sure that those that are being deployed or have been deployed are getting the training to self-identify their own mental health, as well as training those around them. So not only their colleagues, but their family, so that they can see if there's any change in their mood, in their behavior, and their overall mental health. Because often with operational stress injuries, we now see when they actually start to manifest themselves. So we need to continue to work through our joint personnel support units, where many serving members are currently serving, because they need to receive the assistance they need. But at the same time, we have to continue to be vigilant and reach out to those that are not identified yet, and to ensure that we don't have any more these circumstances that are so sad and unnecessary.
Okay, Peter Stauffer, over the years you have dealt with thousands of veterans as well as active servicemen and women in the Canadian Forces. What could the government and the armed forces be doing more?
Well, first of all, again, like James, my sincere condolences to the family and friends and to the entire military family for what has just transpired over the last few days. There are several things the government can do to assist in a situation that may not mitigate this concern in the future, but it will definitely help. First of all, they need to contact the families when the families have the opportunity to sit down with them and talk to them to find out, were there any gaps from the government side or the department side that we may have been able to reach out to this individual. What were the warning signs? What was that individual doing before they unfortunately took their own life, to see what we could have done, maybe improved or better, or maybe just have reached out in advance in that regard. Another thing they could also do, and this is a concern that is being dealt with by a lot of veterans and their families, is called the universality of service. When you come forward and you admit that you have a concern and you're diagnosed with an OSI or PTSD injury, the clock starts ticking on your removal from the military. There's a 3-year limit that you have, and then you're out of the military. Now, the government will provide psychological and rehabilitation training and some educational opportunities, but what I believe that they should do is have the duty to accommodate, to allow that individual to stay in the military, receive all the services that they and their family need, and then when they leave the military, say for example on a Friday, they have another job to go to on the Monday. Right now that happens after they leave the military, and a lot of them are very concerned about their future. And if you add financial stress to their mental concerns as well, then it compounds the issue quite gravely. And there's a few other things that the government could do as well, but if they did those couple of things, I think that would go a long way in assisting the military and their families.
Okay, Joyce Murray, you've been following this issue and the issues connected to it. What more do you think that the government or the forces could be doing?
Yeah, the answer to your very original question of can we do more is yes, we can. Clearly, these suicides are really an expression of despair and a lack of hope, and that's lack of hope in the forces members' future, in the system around them. Are they going to be treated in a way that is compassionate and human? And they clearly are in despair. Like my colleagues, I feel deeply sad about this and want to express my sympathies, my deep sympathies to the family and colleagues of these forces members. So from my perspective, this is not a time for incrementalism. This is a time to find out from the forces, from the members themselves that have been injured, what is missing, and begin to just put those pieces in place. We know that just a few years ago, there wasn't a single psychiatrist or clinical psychologist in the employ of the armed forces, not a single one. So we may have more now, but it's still not enough. And there's at least 75, 76 professionals that are in the pool to hire, but are stuck in a bureaucratic limbo and are not on the ground working for these forces members.
Okay.
So we need for them to have hope, and we need to help identify who is suffering from this mental injury and will be needing help, not wait for them to self-identify, because as we see, it's taking too long for people to step forward, and they're not getting the help that they need.
Okay, James Bezan, before we get to Joyce Murray's point about actual psychiatric personnel on the ground, I want to go back to Peter Stauffer's suggestion. This is this idea of universality of service, that the moment you come forward and identify yourself with a situation and a condition like PTSD, the time starts ticking down on the end of your career. Is there any way of getting around that, a solution to that? Because are people going to come forward if they mean it de facto ends their career?
There's actually a lot more flexibility and universality of service than what's been portrayed so far. You know, the member of the Canadian Armed Forces who is currently enrolled in a JPSU and it has to meet the deployability issue of being still an active member of the Canadian Armed Forces, works with a team of occupational therapists, psychiatrists, medical doctors, and the commanding officer, and no one is forced out before they're ready to leave. There's a number of different, analyses done. Are you going to be able to recover? And then what about what are you doing to help with recovery, whether it's physical or invisible injury that you have, an operational stress injury? And then we need to if this, the case is that they're not going to be able to recover and go back into the force, then it's about transition and how we go about transition and making sure that they still receive all the medical and mental health attention that they deserve, and then help them with that. So the number is actually always moving, and it all comes down to the consent of both the member of the Canadian Armed Forces as well as the team of medical experts and the commanding officer working alongside them.
Okay, what about the issue of, you mentioned the budget, and everyone's heard the government say that the budget's now past $50 million in terms of psychiatric and other services to members of the forces. But the fact remains that the Forces Ombudsman has repeatedly been critical of the fact that you're not meeting your own targets, the forces are not meeting their own targets in hiring mental health workers and having them in the field. The number of mental health workers in the field, I understand, has not even changed since 2010. So how are you going to get them deployed, as Joyce Murray referred to?
So just remember, first of all, that this is a very competitive market for mental health workers in the public health system, along with the military system. Yeah. And we have almost doubled those numbers since we've come to office. So things are moving in the right direction. We have also gone and taken off the freeze of hiring the individuals that are needed to fill the spaces that we have right now and need in the mental health units across this country. So we want to make sure that the clinics are fully staffed, and so there is no freeze in place on hiring civilians to fill those public service roles. Additionally, we've also made sure that the reservists who have been serving in the JPSUs are also able to continue on as Class B reservists. So they're full-time, they're there to ensure continuity, and this has also been a step that we've made as a government to ensure that we are addressing this need and continue to work with the members. The one thing I also want to make sure that we do stay today, Martin, is that there is a Canadian Forces Member Assistance Program, and it is a confidential 24/7 toll-free telephone line in both official languages that allows those members, along with their families, that if they see any identifiers that they are concerned about the mental health and the mood of their individual, they can phone in toll free. And I just want to put this number out there. It's 1-800-268-7708. And again, it's about all of us taking our responsibility and duty of people that are in our lives, people that we interact with, and to see if there has been any change, and if they need help, and those that already say, I'm in a bad place, I need help right now, this is a number they can call and get the help that they need right now.
Okay, Peter Stauffer, you've followed this. I want to get to you in a second, Joyce. Are we, a lot of people are saying that we are finishing our commitment in Afghanistan in March. There'll be almost 600 people will have returned from Afghanistan. There's a lot of anticipation that as more people, as we finish the Afghanistan mission, that there's going to be more demand for the services, there's going to be more cases, there's going to be more distress coming back to our shores. What do you make of it, Peter? What are your concerns?
Well, it's not just Afghanistan. We're still dealing with a lot of effects from Rwanda,
Bosnia, and
Bosnia, and all of those issues. In many cases, the events of PTSD can occur years later after the event. But I just want to correct my good friend, Mr. Bezan, on something. Over 200 military personnel are 3B released, which is medically released, before their 10th year of service in the military. That happened 2 years in a row, and it's going to happen again this year. And what that means, if they've got 8.5 years or 9 years in, and they don't get the 10-year in, they lose out on a tremendous amount of pensionable benefits for the rest of their life. And we had the case of Corporal Kirkland and Corporal Hawkins, which were very well publicized. They didn't want to leave the military, but they were forced out in many ways, and this is causing a problem within that. So I encourage the government to very quickly look at universality of service and understand that that 3-year limit has to go, that these individuals should be able to stay in their careers in the military until they have other suitable employment which they've been adequately trained for. And if they did that, it may go a long way in mitigating some of the problems. But to the answer to your question again, it's not just Afghanistan.
Yeah.
We're dealing with an awful lot of folks. If you look at Mr. Dallaire the other day and his press conferences that he had done, these concerns, the recent deaths are affecting him greatly, and he had those events 21 years ago. And so it's not something that goes away. You carry PTSD with you for the rest of your life. And it's not just the government, and I want to emphasize it. This is a parliamentary responsibility from all of us to ensure that the men and women get the services and benefits they require.
Okay, I want to just give the last word to Joyce Murray. To you, Joyce.
The armed services, the members don't fail us, and we can't fail them as a society, as a parliament, as Peter said, or as a government. So we know that governments can launch initiatives to take Juno Beach on D-Day, for example. I mean, it takes a decision to throw ourselves into solving a problem, and there are a lot of elements, including supporting the family members, so the family members can support the individual who's being injured. There was a parliamentary committee that studied PTSD and came up with a consensus report in 2009. That may be a place to start. Which of those recommendations have not yet been implemented? But let's have a holistic approach and put the focus, the money, the resources and the ideas into that, and get that on the ground and working for our injured forces members now.
Okay, on that note, I want to thank all three of you for taking your time. Thanks very much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Martin.